This is going to be a style in 2HOT2PLAY. Let's show you the demo.
Dance with me.
Let's get to the tutorial. Let's go. We love some hard bounce. So this is going to be the style of 2HOT2PLAY. They've been blowing up recently. They've been making some really cool stuff that I really like a lot because of the groove and how fast they are, and also the different sounds they add that just kind of tickles your brain almost. So we're going to start off with a kick and 99 kick that they like to use. A little bit of mixing that I've done in that as well. Always going to be a 4 on the floor. And in terms of effects that I put, this is just like different kick that I was working with before, and comes into the tip. It's just like you want to be changing the kick based on your bass. Use the bass as your reference for what sort of kick that you should have. And it's a really nasty, aggressive, stank face bass that they've got going on. And this is just helping to give a little bit more support to the actual break that they have. So that like every 8 bars or before a transition, they add. And this just helps with the kick, with when it goes. And of course, like I just add just a car engine start, just a cool sound effect I found online. Because this baby is so fast, it's like a Bugatti Veyron. So let's get into the bass group. For this one, I decided, usually I like to just have one bass nowadays because of how complex you can make patches in Serum. But for this one, I felt like the bass was really important, and that's why I go to my old ways that I used to do in the Ableton Dojo. The 2021, 2022 Ableton Dojo, and this was adding a sub bass too. Of course, it's going to be a little bit harder to mix, and that's why I recommend a lot of guys who come to me for advice not to add the sub bass and instead just have a wider top bass through, I guess, the parallel processing and having low, mid, and high chain. But for this one, I really want to thump. I really want that sub to thump. And this is what it sounds like. Add a little bit of raw. To be honest, I'm not really doing that much. It's just from the high bass. With cases like these, you really don't want to be processing a sub sine wave that much. An 808 and like the 99, those types of basses, they hit so hard in the club. And it's because they're so pure. They're not compressed. There's no saturation and fuzziness that's removing the lower fundamental and adding upper harmonics. You really just want to keep it clean and use either a sine wave, which is usually the most powerful, or a square wave or a triangle wave as well in parallel. So this is where I've just got in parallel as well. I got a saw wave and then I've got a sub that's just going direct out. This really doesn't matter because you're only hearing the sub bass, to be honest. And then I've got my duck plugin, which gives it a pretty heavy sidechain bass, even though you don't really need it. I'm just making sure because it's always played off grid. And so when I'm kick mixing and I'm using both the kick and the bass at the same time, I like to group them together and then add a little bit of saturation that way. So it adds a little bit of drum bass. And in this case, I'm just going to use some mid-side EQ and just increase some of highs on the bass. And this will only affect high bass because the kick's in mono and the sub bass is in mono, which is what you always want. And then I use O-Scope plugin, or though you can use quite a few free ones. This one is free too, I think, with the free, it's like a free trial. It's a very generous free trial. And then you're actually able just to dial in your kick this way. Usually I like to go into settings and then go into plugin windows. Just quickly, just turn multiple plugins on and then auto hide plugin windows off and then auto open on. So that way you can keep this on when you're doing some changes to the kick. Otherwise we just turn it off and it's just annoying. And so like what I'm looking for is I'm just looking just to cut it off just a little bit so you can see. That's okay. When extend it out just a little bit more so the phasing is okay with the offbeat in the bass. And then you want to make sure the same thing for the bass as well, that the actual tail isn't going on when the kick starts. Although the sidechain should stop most of that, it's always best practice just to make sure that the chakras and the energy is aligned, my dudes. So the actual bass sound itself in Serum 2, and this comes from my 2HOT Vault Serum 2-pack. And it's one of these bass presets. It's very simple. It's just default shapes, and then you add on a saw wave, and then I put a little bit of fine tune, and then also set the randomness to 0 on each. So that way they set retrig, and then the chakras are always going to be repeated in the same. And then I add, so with this octave up, I've got this set to the level of the one that's one octave up, and then I'm just kind of doing it by ear. I'm like, I don't want to add too much. That's okay. And then I do the same thing with saturation. And I'm like, doesn't matter. It's just going to go to the max with this sort of style of music. And you can even add a little bit of reverb, and it's not really that good to add reverb onto your bass. Since this is only a high bass and I've high cut it, you can add a little bit onto it. And you can even use that for effects and transitions and stuff. And then I put a little bit of compression, some more soft clipping as well. And on the highs, I've added a little bit of hyper as well. Apart from that, that's pretty clean. There's nothing going on. And then I've got this EQ work going on just for some automation as well with the high bass, like here, which is used a lot by style of music like DBBD, a lot of hard house. You give it a lot of rhythm in the breaks. And then I've got some raw going on. Just to push it a little bit more and then like just increase the tone. And so the good thing about having a high bass now is that you don't have to care about like saturating the hell out of it. The bass is always going to sound good because the sub is still here. You just got to make sure that it's mixed right and you're getting the right levels, which I like to reference other tracks, by the way, when doing so. And so for this bass hit that they like to use sometimes, it's just like a sub, like a pitch down. And I was like, when I was thinking about how do I make this sound, I wasn't really too sure. And then I realized that all that really is just playing with the actual fine tune. So that's why you just go into the matrix. And I'm sure here somewhere I've got master main tuning. Yeah, so this is where you want to go global, go main tuning. And since I've already got the sub bass playing, I don't want things to clash. That's why I've turned on these EQs, cut out any of the mud and below the 100 hertz. And then it's literally just playing around with the effects, like the warping in the actual sound, just to dial it in. That's why I've got these different types of tones that you can get. And this is like the decay of the master tuning. You know what? That sounds pretty close to how they had it. And just a little bit of delay as well. And auditioning it in the time mix. And then that's it for the bass. So if it gets a little bit complicated, I'm just kind of speed running this. And this is just a Rave stab preset from the Eurodance Vault. All I had to do is to make these presets. It's pretty easy. I've got a free download for the house stabs, which you can just do yourself, and you can put these into Serum and follow along. You just load these in, and then you make sure you get to select pitch tuned. And I've done my due diligence to make sure they're all key labeled. If you can't find it, then with these house chords, they're often really hard to find because they're playing multiple different notes at the same time. But it's nice to try to see the fundamental in the spectrum analyzer. And you can see where it is. Like, I guess that looks like it's E to the 7th, and then you should be like, it's F, and then this here's where it gets fuzzy. But it's A. So I'm assuming it's playing like some sort of G minor chord. Right, and then that's when, so I just figured out, let's just be pitching it up 5 semitones to make it into C. And then that's when I can even add reverse effect. And for the actual MIDI itself, they like to play A Phrygian scale. It's not A minus, A Phrygian. And that's what gives it that groovy, darker feeling to it, because I've got the first note and you got the second note, which is just right beside it. And it goes did it. And then I've got some whistles, just classic Rave whistles. Put a bit of OTT on that just to give it a little bit of a life and help it stand out in the mix. And then also some widening as well, some echo. And then I've got a secondary one, which I just auditioning just to see which one sounds the best. And then I really like this effect. There's a Kill Bill effect. And I heard this from, it's like a Mischluft track, how it pitches up. It's the same kind of style, how the pitching of the oscillators. Which sounds already really similar to the Kill Bill, but I want to have a little bit more sustain to it, especially if I'm playing longer notes and future projects as well. So that's where I just play around with the wavetable settings, and I'm pretty sure it's already a soul wave through my music brain calculations. And then I'll put this into the master tune. Blah, blah. Actually, no, I didn't. I put this into the C, the coarse pitch. So I put this LFO2 into the coarse pitch. And then I set this to a pitch up. So this sounds like without. And it gives it that nice alarm. And you can even play around with it by putting on 8th notes, and you could make a this. Okay, yeah, I'm getting sidetracked. And I've just got that playing every bar. And you see here with the whistle and then the Rave stabs, just to fill things in, I keep these Rave stabs very simple, like the most simple motif you can find. And then even with the actual whistle sounds itself, it's very simple. Like they're just monophonic. Or there's more or less mostly monophonic with this style of music. You're not adding too many crazy melodic elements into this. It's all about just like the groove and just like the constant chugging like a train, it's like. And then the most important, arguably the most important, are the actual vocal samples. And this is where you just find, I just found random vocals sample. Dip, 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 dip. Dip, 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 dip. And then just start playing it like an instrument. Dip, 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 dip. And then it's the exact same. But this time I'm just playing it whatever just sounds good. and just seeing whatever sounds good. But this time I'm doing a little bit of processing on it to make it sound like it's coming from a phone. Someone's like playing from a phone because I'm kind of like storytelling with this. It's like, oh, he's playing from the phone. It's like a Fred again, voice whisper, and it's not a splice loop or something. And so the range for this is you want it to take off anything above 3K and then below, I would say 500 hertz. 300 hertz, and you want to boost up the 1K range because that's when a lot of the human voice is sung. Just be careful with resonance because that's where humans really can hear that range from the 1 to 2, 3K kilohertz range. That's when our ears are really perceptible to that sort of sound. And then to add a little bit of movement, automation is your best friend. And that's the goal, is to add more movement with the sounds that you have, not just add more. And that's where you use a Redux. It's a really super cool Rave plugin. This also adds to that down sampling digital artifact coming from a phone call sound. It's a bit of Redux. You know what I'm saying? Dance with me. I like to add into the effects at the start. So what they do is they just add one bar, which you do Command I, and you add just, I think it was like 1 or 2 bars. And you just add this to the front. And I usually like to do these special effects like ear candy elements at the end once the entire song is done. And then I'll be like, cool. Because otherwise, this starts to stuff up your whole structure and you can't really see where 4 bars and 8 bars end when you're trying to arrange everything. It's been annoying, but that's okay. I know you can always just add in 2 bars at the start, actually. Dance with me. Yeah, so this is where I've just kind of, and they've just started it just to make it sound like, oh, it's struggling to start. And then someone's like, dance with me. And you're just like, oh my God, I gotta get in the car and I gotta dance with it. Dance me, dance me. And this is the same thing. I'm just chopping up a loop. Dance me, dance me, dance me, dance with me. Dance with me. And so with the effects, breakdowns are always some of the most important elements that I always see lacking in my people's music. And it's because they don't know how to, I guess, automate and make sure to release tension and flow through the decrease in tension to increasing it and then insinuating what's coming next. And it's like the put your hands up for Detroit, I love this city type drop. Do-do-do-do-do-do. This is where, with the kick at the same time, quick effects kind of automation is use a rack. I've got in the Eurodance Vault pack, I've got some racks that are really nice and neat. And so you can be, and this was you just be auto. And then with the actual like down build, just supporting that Kill Bill sound, 99 snare roll. And then trying to be a little bit unique with it, the snare roll groove. It's not just playing 1/8, because I think it kind of matches into the song. Oh, how could I forget the drums? Honestly, the drums for this style of music, they're not actually the main element. I was listening even claps in the snares. It's quick. Everything is just really quick and short. Just a standard offbeat hat. And I would say that one interesting thing is with the hi-hats. This is what they've got going on. It's not playing every single beat, but it's just giving it a little bit of a gallop. And I can show you a quick way to do this is if you've got a normal 100% velocity, just turn this down a little bit. Now you can kind of hear it. I guess a final note is what they like to do a lot, and it's really cool. I do this in my own productions as well, and just using the offbeat with vocals. You can use it for anything, but like just spice up the offbeat. It's the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's always going to be the most important in dance music, especially with fast tempos like 153 BPM like this. you're going to want to utilize that. And this adds so much more power when you go. So this is playing 1/4. Alternatively, what you could do is you could put it on the offbeat. But I think it just sounds a little bit better playing it on the beat. Like it sounds pretty good on the beat. Thank you, Broskis, for watching my YouTube video and supporting my YouTube channel. You can copy the sample back down below in the description, as well as this template as well. I'm going to give it away for free. So I appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know. Make sure to comment down what video you want me to make, and I'll go ahead and try make them. All right, Broskis, peace out. I love you guys.